Glorious, pale, veiled in mystery and intrigue, it's been piercing the darkness of night with its rays ever since time immemorial. There hasn't been a single culture to not worship the moon. In fact, all living organisms have an affinity for it. For tens of thousands of years, humans have been fond of this heavenly body found in close proximity to Earth. All past generations have thought of what could lie on the moon, or what its purpose might be, or if it gives man any kind of special abilities. Humans have craved for so long to unravel the moon mystery, and the answer remained only at the stretch of their imagination, since there was no way on Earth they could reach it. Beyond the moon.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We are go for launch. T-minus 60 seconds and counting.
In 1969, with the entire world watching and holding its breath, the Apollo 11 crew, Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins, have finally reached this notorious celestial body.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It was indeed a small step for man, and at the same time, a giant leap for mankind. To everybody's surprise, the moon proved desolate and gray. There were no special findings whatsoever, except for a bunch of soil samples and rocks retrieved by the crew. And, of course, a lush collection of videotapes with the spaceflight and landing.
We, the crew of Apollo 11, are privileged to represent the United States in our first attempt to take man to another heavenly body.
Subsequent years have seen 9 other astronauts walk on the moon's surface. Every time, they would bring to Earth more and more soil samples, weighing hundreds of pounds, as well as priceless video footage.
Now, Neil's small step for man, which was his step, one human being, but humankind made a gigantic leap in going to the moon to be able to do that. Now, some people could say that it's a small step, Apollo going to the moon, a giant leap, and they've thought about the future. When is the giant leap going to happen? Yeah. But that wasn't meant to be a prophetic proclamation for the future.
Then, after a while, some of the images were thrown out of the archive oven into the public's grasp. And there were plenty of anomalies that caught the eye, especially eerie lights and out-of-place objects that surrounded the missions.
60 seconds.
Of course, they were all ignored or debunked as lens flares or video glitches. But many people refused to put their trust in the official explanation and began scrutinizing the public data they had at their disposal. NASA claimed there was nothing out of the ordinary regarding the moon, but people sensed there was something more than met the eye. The first recordings of Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walking on the moon's surface were all grainy and blurry, although Hollywood movie quality in 1969 was pretty neat, or at least vastly superior than the original footage recorded on the moon.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
Hey! I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
You are not looking for anybody. You cannot find anybody.
People were demanding answers, and the pressure on NASA grew as days progressed. And then it happened.
Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Kennedy Space Center.
In 2016, NASA admitted that the original footage of the first moon landing from 1969 was entirely lost. An investigation led by NASA engineer Richard Nafzger revealed that the priceless Apollo 11 tapes, along with 200,000 others, were degaussed or magnetically erased in order to be reused by the agency to save money. To tackle this grave issue, they grabbed available cassette copies from CBS News archives, together with other recordings stored at Johnson Space Center, and sent them all to a man named Lowry, best known for restoring old Hollywood films, so that he would digitalize and render what was left of the original footage. Thousands of years of waiting to reach the moon's surface, and the most prestigious space institution had erased the original evidence of the first moon landing like it was nothing of importance. And the worst part, they wouldn't let the public know about it, at least not entirely. Almost 5 decades after the initial man's descent on the lunar surface, and numerous questions with equivocal answers remain. Have we really been up there? Or was the moon landing staged inside a Hollywood basement? Is the moon really a natural satellite? Or is it rather artificial in nature?
Two Russian physicists, Vasin and Shebekov, came up with the idea that the moon must be an artificial object. That would mean that the moon had to be an artificial, an engineered object.
This suggestion is outlandish. However, it's only through their calculations and all the mathematics they determined that their theory is correct.
And so these Russian scientists, their theory is that the moon is a spaceship, it's got engines within, but that on the outside they've coated it with this moon-looking substance. Now, it's a far-fetched idea, but it makes a lot of sense in that you might want to shroud or cloak this craft and make it look like a very natural object.
And contains cities and structures that are inside and outside of the moon.
What did they discover on the lunar surface that they're not letting us know about? What's with all the strange and bright objects surrounding the lunar landings?
I'd prefer to see us go to Mars rather than go back to the moon, unless we need the moon as a stepping stone to Mars. It could be that in studying Mars, you will discover that the best way to do it is by way of a base on the moon, and if that turns out to be the case, well and good, but I see the moon really not as an end in itself, but really a stepping stone to deeper space, to Mars and to the planets beyond.